Welcome to Modern Lifekeeping, where we discuss ways to thrive in today's world. I'm your host, Lori Christine. A surprisingly large amount of people are fixated on having or being an ideal parent, partner, or person. One of the definitions of ideal is a person or thing regarded as perfect, but also existing only in the imagination, desirable or perfect, but not likely to become a reality. I'm sorry, I've got one cat who's giving himself a bath on my desk and another one who is sitting in 3/4 of my chair. So I'm sorry if you hear my cat and giving himself a bath in the background. Ironic how many of us feel like we didn't have ideal parents when, by the very definition, they are not likely to be a reality. We create entire belief systems around our expectations based on perfectionism. We expect our coworkers, friends, parents, and others to act in a way that we perceive to be perfect, but that they are sometimes blissfully unaware of. We forget that our ideal is not their ideal. We spend time daydreaming about ideal people, places, and things. This fantasy of perfection becomes something we feel entitled to and deprived of when we perceive we are without it. This very distraction takes us away from the present moment. The reality is that many of us have relationships, siblings, friends, and or parents that are not quite what we think of as ideal. We have created a version of an ideal that others are not able to or willing to live up to. We spend our energy comparing others to this ideal that exists only in our mind, but not in our reality. We can learn to recognize when we are attached to an expectation that only exists in our mind, because when we project our expectations onto others, we set ourselves up for disappointment. We also become stuck in the space of longing for this ideal, lost in the belief of what we should have had, what we could have had, or what we would have had, if only. Our alternative to being stuck is to face the reality that does not meet our expectations. Facing reality is like shining our light and using it to expose the shadows and illusions, the smoke and mirrors that exist in our own mind. Chasing perceived ideals is another form of perfectionism. When we believe our life would be better if only our parents were ideal, our circumstances were ideal, everything in life was ideal, we become lost in this endless search that is outside of our control. Our belief that perfection is something to have instead of something to be leaves us chasing ideals instead of focusing on the perfection within us. Many of us are choosing to resist our reality by staying lost in the murkiness of our ideals. It's just comforting to stay with what we know instead of trusting and going with the flow. We resist our own best lives by being distracted by beliefs about what it means to be ideal that do not serve our highest good. These beliefs, in fact, limit our ability to align with peace and love and keep us stuck with the energy of resistance. This resistance is in direct contrast to ease and grace. This was made clear to me when Kira died. I was attached to the ideal that she would outlive me. This belief would have kept me stuck if I did not choose to shine light on it and transmute it. In an ideal and perfect world, our children do outlive us. We all believe that. Clearly, according to this belief, we are not living in an ideal world. I had to release my attachment to this perception of an ideal world in order to move through the loss of my child. I had to learn to release attachment to what should be. What should be is nothing more than an illusion. It tricks us into feeling like we deserve or are owed something more. Where the ideal we imagine does not match the ideal we manifest, there is gold in the form of information. When our ideal does not match with our reality, we can observe, reflect, intend, and transmute until it does. This means we can observe where things don't feel as good as we know they can. Becoming an observer in our own life is a lifelong habit that will continue to serve us forever. Remember that we must look in order to see. Become open to looking instead of avoiding, denying, repressing. Observe where it feels easier to avoid looking, and look anyway. Trust me, it's well worth it. Learning to observe yourself will change your life. Detach from outcomes and objectively observe yourself living your life. Reflect on what you observe and compare it only with the best version of yourself. You'll know the best version of yourself as she or he who shows up as peace and love. Once you've reflected on areas of your life that you have the power to heal, you can live in a state of awareness, becoming conscious of the present moment and your relation to it. Are you expecting others to be perfect in ways only you know? Are you disappointed with those around you? Are people disappointed with you? Where are you experiencing disappointment? Perhaps this is an area where you are projecting an ideal that is limiting you. We can focus our intention and intend that we will do what we need to do, hear what we need to hear, know what we need to know, and see what we need to see in order to experience less struggle. Learn to be open and to see things with a beginner's mind. Be open to receiving information in unexpected ways, like overhearing a conversation, embracing opportunities that just appear, and observing other synchronicities that occur in your everyday life. Set the intention, continue to observe, and then reflect on what you receive. After reflecting on the gap between reality and your perceived ideal, you can transmute the energy by making changes that create the energy you wish to feel. Even when we have parents that are abusive, we can transmute our beliefs and thinking until we align with beliefs and thinking patterns that align with unconditional love. Then what will matter is that we love and accept them for who they are and not for who we want them to be. If we practice observing, reflecting, intending, and transmuting, we can make this pattern a habit in our life. Automating habits that serve us is the path to healing that each one of us can choose at any time. We are much better served when we embrace the idea that reality is our ideal. It mirrors back to us what is inside of us. If that reflection does not match the ideal we know is possible for ourselves, then we can focus on aligning with the ideal within ourselves. We can measure our frequency by the emotion we feel the most. If we are worried or anxious most of the time, we will attract things to worry about because we're in the frequency of worry. Worrying about being perfect, guess what frequency that is? It is not the frequency of perfection, it is the frequency of worry. When we worry, we lack trust and belief in ourselves. What if your reality is the ideal in the present moment? What if it is here ideally to reflect back to you the frequency you are vibrating at? What if we chose to believe we are already perfect? Whether that means we are perfectly imperfect or imperfectly perfect, it doesn't matter. We are exactly as we are meant to be in each moment. We are perfect in that way, and we attract what we think about most. What if the obstacles you perceive are the ideal circumstances you need to break the ceiling, to align with your potential, to embrace transformation? What if we chose to incarnate for our soul to learn certain life lessons? Then every present moment gets us closer to learning those lessons, and therefore, every moment is ideal. And consider that all these ideals are beginning to sound a lot like heaven, and while I believe we are meant to live heaven on earth, I believe we can live hell on earth as well. The power is within us to create a life for ourselves that aligns with the best version of who we are most meant to be. The only ideal you can control is your own. Show up as the best version of yourself, and you will be living your ideal life. We assign meaning to our experiences with our beliefs and our thoughts. If we chose to see every moment as ideal, we could stop chasing the elusive ideal and embrace the one that exists within us instead. We would then be able to release things like guilt, regret, and sorrow. We would accept what is with ease and grace. Then we would experience peace and love instead of pain and suffering. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Modern Lifekeeping, brought to you by Kira Kisses. Stop searching for the ideal outside of yourself and believe that your life is already perfect. Your parents, siblings, and even circumstances are ideal for you. They are ideal for the lessons you are here to learn, because it seems real obvious that we each have our own journey with our own lessons to learn. Regardless of what you choose to believe, know that your beliefs will either serve or limit you. Reach for beliefs that feel like peace and love, and soon you will be living a life filled with peace and love. For more information on my individual and parenting support groups, retreats, and services, visit Kira, Keara, kisses.com. Until we meet again, keep wondering.